Yes, guys, welcome back to episode 4 of the Chris Talks Football Podcast. Today, this weekend actually, was match day number 3 in the Premier League, and I think match day number 5 in the EFL, I'm not sure. But yeah, today we're going to get all the reaction to the Premier League and the EFL as it happens. Probably one of the biggest stories in the Premier League is Liverpool 3, Arsenal 1. Liverpool keep up their 100% win rate. And they cruise on, and they're 2 points above Man City. But remember the last time Liverpool had a significant points gap over City, they lost it, and the league title went to Manchester. Also, we'll get some reaction from the Manchester City game, Spurs' shock loss to Newcastle, and of course the other games such as the Chelsea game, which they beat Norwich away 3-2, and Leicester as well. They're unbeaten as well, 1 win and 2 draws. First of all, I want to apologise if I do sound not normal, or I don't know, I can't say certain letters and words correctly. That is because I've had my braces fitted in, and my speaking is a consequence of that. So hopefully you guys can acknowledge the fact that I do have braces. So let's get started with the Premier League. Then Liverpool have a 100% record. They have beaten Arsenal by 3-1. Salah again starring, really. He scored a really good goal that helped them get the win. Also, in Arsenal's defence, not in Arsenal's defence, David Luiz conceded a penalty because he actually pulled Mohamed Salah's shirt for reasons that I don't know so far. But I think I've seen a lot of Arsenal fans, criticise David Luiz, why did we buy him? Mustafi would have done better. Again, give him time. He's a quality player, but I think in that game he did make a few errors. But for Arsenal, I think they should have scored more than the one. I think Pepe had a really good chance which he should have tucked away. Because if you're going to cost £72 million, you need to be taking those chances. Otherwise, you shouldn't be on the pitch in the first place. But obviously Pepe will grow. Arsenal just need to, get to grips with their new squad. Of course, they've brought a few players in, and of course they're going to have to adjust a system that is correct for them. But Liverpool, as I said, Mohamed Salah just can't stop scoring at the moment. Where is he finding this form? He has scored in pretty much every Liverpool game I've watched, at least, and I've watched quite a few Liverpool games, but he doesn't stop, and that's the thing, because you look at his days at Chelsea, and he was absolutely no one. He was a misfit, but now he's at Liverpool. He's morphed into a demigod. So that's really, really good for Salah himself. But for Arsenal, I don't think Arsenal fans should worry too much. Here's our deflation of the league. We're out of the title race. To be honest, you weren't really in the title race in my eyes anyway. But Arsenal fans shouldn't really worry too much. There's only 3 games of the season played. There's another 35 games left in the Premier League. So, there is still time to redeem yourself. But, I think Arsenal, hopefully they can, take a lot from that and improve. But for Liverpool, it's... Jurgen Klopp has transformed that team. I remember when he came in 2015 or 16, I can't remember actually. The squad was filled with Ricky Lambert, Mario Balotelli, and Adam Lallana. It still is with Adam Lallana, but still. And now he's transformed it. He's made some world-class signings. Andy Robertson, who was going to play Championship football a few years back when he got relegated with Hull City. Van Dijk, probably the best signing in Liverpool, probably in the modern era. And I know I'm going to get fans saying, what about Aguero? He has scored 100-odd goals for Manchester City since his arrival from Atletico Madrid. But, Van Dijk, if you ever want a player that has transformed a team in the most significant way, that is Van Dijk. Van Dijk has done it. He was in the shortlist for the Player of the Year last year. So yeah, that's why I put him up there. But yeah, Liverpool, they'll just go soldiering on. I think it will be as close as last season, the title race. I still think City will win it though, because obviously Liverpool and City haven't met, but Liverpool, of course, are going to be in the Champions League, and the Champions League may take an effect on Liverpool because obviously it depends on what teams they're drawn against. I mean, look at the teams they were drawn last season. They had the likes of PSG and Red Star, which they lost to, and I believe, who else? Napoli as well. So they had quite a tough group. If they have a group like that, then I think Jurgen Klopp this will be a real test of his managerial, whereas Manchester City's were, a little bit easier than them. I can't remember the teams that were in City's group in the Champions League, but, the Champions League, little things like that, the draw, what teams are in the group, what teams they're going to face in the knockout stages, because both of them are going to go pretty far. Then, little things like that is going to take a effect on them. And, of course, the FA Cup, because, I think the reason Liverpool imploded last season, especially mid-season, was when, they lost that FA Cup game to Wolves, because they couldn't, they went on a winless run, I believe, so, and of course Manchester City went all the way and won the thing, so there are contrasts between that. But speaking of Manchester City, they managed to win 3-1 away at Bournemouth yesterday, and it was classic City, Aguero and Sterling getting on the score sheet. Kevin De Bruyne has got to 50 assists in the Premier League. Lad, again with Van Dijk, he has transformed that team. And I know people will say, the arrival of Pep Guardiola as well, but still, I think that is probably one of the best bits of business that Manuel Pellegrini did at his time in City. For me, at least. But yeah, Bournemouth they did score quite a good free kick, in fact. Harry Wilson, who is a very good player. I'm surprised that actually he hasn't, got a better club than Bournemouth. No disrespect to Bournemouth. But, I thought, Harry Wilson is a good championship player. We know that. He could go on loan to the likes of, Brighton or Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace, for me, would be the desired impact for Wilson because, it takes a little bit of pressure off Zaha. Because Zaha is carrying Crystal Palace, and with Wilson, if Wilson went to Crystal Palace, there'd be a little bit less pressure on Zaha, and enables a bit more freedom. If you understand what I'm trying to say, but it's done now. He's at Bournemouth for the season, and I think Jurgen Klopp will use him in the future. Though he's not going to be the next Ben Woodburn or whatever. But it was a good free kick though. 25 yards out, but Manchester City, of course, that draw last time with Tottenham, I think Liverpool will get draws against the big teams, definitely, but I think Manchester City, will have to be as consistent as they have last season, because really, last time, at Tottenham, that was the first time they dropped points in 16 games. They dropped 2 points last time out of a possible 45, which is incredible, really, for Manchester City standards. But probably the big shock of the Premier League weekend, Crystal Palace winning at Old Trafford for the first time in 30 years. Jordan Ayew and Patrick Van Aanholt scoring the goals. And this is primarily the reason why Manchester United are going to be playing in the Europa League. This is the reason why they won't break into the top 4, in my opinion. Because they just cannot defend. Look at Palace's first goal. Route 1. Route 1 is actually an understatement. Long kick from Guaita, the goalkeeper, reaches Jordan Ayew, and there's no defenders. Harry Maguire, 80 million, more expensive than Van Dijk. If you're going to be showing Manchester United fans that you're worth £80 million, you've got to go and defend. And not just let the ball bounce over your head and into Jordan Ayew, a striker who could have been playing for Swansea in the Championship a few months ago. But fair play to Palace. They didn't score a goal or get a point before this weekend. But to get 2 goals and to get their first win at Old Trafford will definitely give them a confidence boost, definitely. But like last week, I'm going to have to talk about racism because once again, stupid fans are throwing racist abuse at Marcus Rashford, again for the same reason that Pogba got racist abuse, because of the penalty miss. I mean, to be honest, my opinions on this are, why has Ole Gunnar Solskjaer not practiced penalties in training? Because clearly Pogba and Rashford, they're two most influential players in my opinion, cannot take a penalty. I mean, you should leave it to David De Gea next time you take a penalty, Man United, because wow, the pressure really is getting to those two. But again, I don't want to touch on this too much because I feel like I've addressed everything in my last podcast. I mean, just because you missed a penalty, it doesn't mean that you should be racially abused. And I'm pretty 90% certain that these fans haven't actually seen their toes in about 20 years. So, I mean, at least they can take a penalty. So, you know. But yeah, obviously, as I said, Manchester United, Harry Maguire, these next few games, he needs to make up for his performance against Palace, because, you know, if people are going to start taking you seriously as one of Manchester United's record signings, you know, this is the same fee that Cristiano Ronaldo was going to Real Madrid in 2009. Absolutely mental transfer these days. But yeah, good win for Crystal Palace, and I think they'll crack on from here, really, use that as momentum. Another team that will use a shock win as momentum, Newcastle United. All day long after that defeat to Norwich, all I heard was, oh, Newcastle are going down, what a waste of 40 million on Joelinton. Well, 40 million, some of it has been repaid back because Newcastle won against Spurs, 1-0. Joelinton scored the goal, his first goal in English football, and that was a massive win for Newcastle. Arguably, it was more important than Crystal Palace's win. I think that was the most important win of the weekend, because a lot of fans were criticising Steve Bruce. I mean, I was probably one of the few fans that thought, all right, Steve Bruce, okay, he got relegated at Hull City, but he took them to a cup final, so he does know how to manage a team that, you know, should be relegated in terms of, you know, by the bookies that are predicting them to get relegated. But, you know, he's come out recently and said, you know, I think we don't care about the criticism, we're doing decently, we're doing fine. And yeah, I mean, I stand by that, because, you know, yeah, you lost your 2 games. I mean, losing to Norwich at home is like Akinfenwa losing an arm wrestle to a small child. But still, I mean, you know, they've cracked on, they've believed in themselves, they've dug deep, and they've got the win. But I think the real talking point from that game was Harry Kane and the penalty shout from Jamal Lascelles. I looked at it closely up a few times. My impression is Jamal Lascelles just fell on him. I mean, is that really a clear and obvious error? He fell on him. That is it. So I don't think that, you know, he should be doing, you know, I don't think he should be appealing for a penalty. VAR was correct. I mean, he clearly fell on him, Lascelles. He can't really do anything about it. But Tottenham did have 1 or 2 chances. Mainly, I think Lucas Moura had a chance to make it 1-1, which he really should have done from about 6 or 8 yards. I can't remember, but yeah. For everyone in that VAR room, it has to be a clear and obvious error, and it wasn't, in my opinion. What else has happened? West Ham, they got their first win of the season away at Watford, and Sebastian Haller got his first brace in the Premier League, and I'm happy for the guy. You know, he's a record signing for West Ham, and record signings have to be worth the money. And on that game alone, I think that he will improve, definitely. Obviously, when you're transferring to a new club in a different country, you know, you have to adapt, you have to change up your game a little bit, because, of course, the style of play at West Ham is probably different to the style of play in the Bundesliga where it was last season. So, you know, he's done well to get 2 goals in his 3rd appearance. But, yeah, Watford, I mean, lads, 3 defeats in a row and only 1 goal scored. I did tip Watford to finish in the lower half of the table, surviving. But, well, I mean, look at their first 3 games. They were all quite winnable games. Brighton at home, Everton away, and of course West Ham at home. And, well, Brighton and West Ham are 2 games, I think actually, no, scrap that. I think all 3 games they were targeting for a win. So I think Watford fans should be a little bit worried. I think they'll still stay up though. But I think, if they don't get a win in September as well, fans will really have to, start worrying about this team. But good win for West Ham. They can crack on now, as I said, with the likes of Newcastle and Crystal Palace, because as soon as you get that first win of a season under your belt, it gives you momentum. And those 3 teams, Palace, Newcastle and West Ham, we will see momentum definitely being, and up. Speaking of momentum, Aston Villa have got their first win. Jesus Christ, it's been a while. It's been a long time coming. But, Aston Villa won Friday night at Everton. I actually watched that game. And how the hell Aston Villa won that game, I have no idea. They were defensively solid, but they only had a handful of shots. But Everton's defending really has to be questionable for the 2 goals. And that's the thing, Marco Silva, every single time Everton don't do well, it's because of their defence. Okay, yes, they've, got Miguel Mina, but Kurt Zouma, imagine what would have happened if Kurt Zouma played at the back, because he had a decent season last season. But obviously he's at Chelsea now because he's been bought back from the loan, but who knows what would have happened. Aston Villa, I still think will go down. I think this is probably a one-off, but if they are going to stay up, their home form is going to be so pivotal. Look at the teams who are staying up. Well, look at the teams who have stayed up in the last few years. Likes of Bournemouth, the likes of Brighton in 17-18, Huddersfield as well. Their home forms were really good, and they, had their own supporters to back them. I still think, though, that by the time Manchester City come to Villa Park, I think they'll probably still get smashed 8-0. Like Chelsea inflicted in 2012, 8-0. What else? Chelsea, speaking of Chelsea won 3-2 at Norwich. 2 youngsters scored for Chelsea, Mason Mount and Tammy Abraham. I'm going to say this once and once only. Once that transfer ban is lifted, do not loan out Tammy Abraham, but get a striker. Sell Morata. Morata is absolutely dog wank in the Premier League. But get a competent striker. I know you've got the Giroud, but Abraham, Giroud and another good striker, that would be a brilliant front. That would be good front 3, because Abraham can score goals. We've seen him do it. We saw him do it at Norwich. Also, Mason Mount, he scored the goal as well. I think these are probably 2. Mason Mount, Tammy Abraham, the likes of Callum Hudson-Odoi. Those 3 youngsters you really have to look out for. I think they could be top players. They'll probably play for Chelsea regularly in about half a decade, maybe less. But, for now, they're just filling in for the transfer ban. But, if Chelsea can keep going like this, obviously it's Norwich, so what do you expect? But Timu Pukki, I thought he was going to get double digits as Norwich went down, but he's got 5 goals in 3 games. He's the top scorer in the Premier League. I did not see that coming, and I don't think anyone else did. So, fair play to the man. I mean, you fail at Celtic, a league that is pretty much on par with the French Ligue 1, in terms of competition. There is none. But when there's competition, he brings out the big guns. We saw it in the Championship, and we're seeing it now in the Premier League, so fair play to him. Leicester City are unbeaten. They managed to win at Sheffield United 2-1. Absolute thunderstrike from Harvey Barnes on the half volley, and the Sheffield United goalkeeper did not move. But Jamie Vardy scored in that game. I mean, shock. I mean, Jamie Vardy is probably, in my opinion, one of the, if not the most underrated striker in the Prem. I mean, he could have left it for Arsenal after the title win, but he decided to stick with Leicester, and that's good. But obviously, I wonder how much Leicester fans are probably laughing at the fact that Maguire had an absolute torrid game against Crystal Palace, but his effective replacement, in quotation marks, Soyuncu, had 3 good, decent games. how ironic is that? 80 million. Leicester made a big profit there. They haven't had to sign a centre-back. They haven't had to sign Lewis Dunk, as a lot of rumours saying in the transfer windows. But Leicester are doing well, and they are going to finish 7th. I think they're the only team that could break into the top 6 and steal Chelsea's spot. For me, they are the only team, because Brendan Rodgers, he knows how to... He's won league titles with Celtic. I mean, yes, the competition isn't very, high, but winning a league title is winning a league title. So, what do you have to say to that? Other results of the Premier League. Southampton managed a 2-0 win against Brighton. Brighton went down to 10 men after Florian Andone. Moment of madness, really. He absolutely went in, gave no Fs, and got a red card. Moussa Djenepo scored within a few minutes of his Southampton debut. And Nathan Redmond, probably Southampton's most influential player, scored as well to give their manager their first win, and away from home as well, because their away form wasn't that good last season. So I think that'll be a confidence boost. Also, what happened in the Premier League? Wolves and Burnley drew 1-1 yesterday as well. To be honest, I mean, Wolves are almost in the Europa League group stage, so to get a draw against Burnley is pretty good as well. Ashley Barnes, another player who's having a good start to the season. 4 goals in 3 games. I mean, lad, leave some goals for the rest of the team. But that is the Premier League done. Now on to the EFL. And the EFL, probably the most controversial EFL game this weekend, was the Derby County West Brom game. Because what happened was, both goals were penalties, but they were both contentious decisions. I don't know whether the West Brom penalty was a penalty. Also, their manager, Slaven Bilic, of course, former West Ham manager who took us into the Europa League qualifying stages, he got sent off. God knows why, and, he'll be having a touchline ban as well. Other results in the Championship. Luton Town continued their decent start to life in the Championship. 3-1 win over another promoted side, Barnsley. Cardiff drew 0-0 with Blackburn. Charlton Athletic, really good start for them. 1-0 win against Brentford. Fulham lost at home to Nottingham Forest. Huddersfield Town lost at home to Reading. By the way, Huddersfield are looking for a new manager after sacking Jan Siewert. Bristol City won away at Hull. Middlesbrough and Millwall both drew 1-1. Preston beat Sheffield Wednesday 2-1. QPR beat Wigan 3-1. Leeds United beat Stoke 3-0 away from home. I mean, Stoke City, Nathan Jones is 100% getting sacked if he doesn't win the next 2 games. 100%. And Swansea City under Steve Cooper. Steve Cooper was the manager who won the England Under-17s World Cup. And you're probably wondering, what's the big point in that? Well, the players that played in that tournament were the likes of Jadon Sancho, Morgan Gibbs-White, Phil Foden and Callum Hudson-Odoi. So he did nurture some homegrown talent. They are having a good start. They're up into 2nd, 3-0 win over Birmingham. In League One, the biggest news from League One is news that happened a few hours ago. Bolton Wanderers, who were in the Premier League in 2012. They're going to be in League 2 100%. But they were in the Premier League 6 years ago. They could be liquidated. You're probably wondering, Chris, what does liquidated mean? It means gone. Like, nothing. Go out of sale, bust. That is sad. Because a decade and a half ago, this team was getting a result against Bayern Munich in the UEFA Cup. And now, 15 years later, they could be gone. I mean, they just got beat 5-0 by Ipswich and pretty much chucked their under-18 teams out. But still, the situation at Bolton, you could say, is even more depressing than Bury. Bury, by the way, have been given more time to, sort their finances because apparently a takeover is issued. So, we could see Bury, rising up a little bit because, they're giving them more time. Sunderland began their resurgence because, they reached the playoff final last year, and this is the year that I think they will get back into the Championship. They managed to beat Wimbledon 3-1. nothing really much happened elsewhere in League 1. In League 2, an absolute goal fest at Grimsby Town. Grimsby Town 5, Port Vale 2. Carlisle United drew with Salford City. What else? Leyton Orient lost 3-2 to Crawley Town. Macclesfield, of course, without Sol Campbell, beat Scunthorpe United 1-0. And also Newport County beat Crewe Alexandra 1-0 as well. So guys, that is it then for this week's edition of the Chris Talks Football podcast. Next week, of course, will be another episode 5. If you did enjoy it, leave a like, subscribe, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And as always, I will talk to you guys later.